Alright, so we're gonna perform a little experiment. An experiment that I like to call petrified. And in this experiment, I'm gonna try to scare you so hard you'll become petrified. Okay, are you ready? Now close your eyes and listen to this menacing voice and tell me if you're afraid.
Very emotional because I have a lot of fans in here. So I'm very happy and more exciting for back.
So, were you scared? Cause I wasn't. I mean, if I heard some dude that sounds like that trying to fight me, I'd probably think I could whoop his ass really bad. But then again, that's why we're all advised to never judge a book by its cover, because that book that you thought wasn't tough could very well be one of the greatest, if not the greatest mixed martial arts fighter to ever walk this planet. You know, I've seen a few guys that look like Johnny Hendrix. I remember I had an English teacher who looked like that, really nice guy, soft looking, had a few extra pounds of flesh on his bones, but I highly doubt my English teacher would have been able to do this. My God, talk about judging a book by its cover. Nothing about the way Johnny Hendrix looks would give away that he's a fighter. He just looks like a normal guy that loves growing a cool beard, but that's about it. But that's until he steps into the cage and starts swinging that left hand. That's when you know he's not just a fighter, he is one of the absolute best there is. BJ Penn, the prodigy. When I was thinking about this, I was saying to myself, I wonder what gives it away that BJ Penn is a fighter. Could it be that mean, chiseled face of his? Nah, I don't think it is. Could it be his ripped and shredded body with huge biceps? Nah, not that either. Or maybe it's the fact that he is covered in tattoos. Nope, not that either. Actually, when you think about it, absolutely nothing about the way BJ Penn looks will tell you that this guy is a fighter. I mean, no disrespect, but the guy looks like a big baby. I mean, look at that smile. Look at his dimples. He's so cute. But keep thinking that shit and step into the cage with him, and I guarantee he'll remind you why he is called the prodigy. Not only is BJ Penn a very good fighter, he is considered by many to be the most dominant lightweight champion of all time. And get this, he is the only fighter I know that has gone all the way to heavyweight and right now fights as a featherweight. Get this, BJ Penn fought Lyoto Machida at heavyweight. Let that sink in. When I look at Roy Nelson, I always have just one question in my mind, and that question is, how? How is that possible? How is it that a guy that looks like a stereotypical fat, lazy, no job, still living with mom, plays video games all day kind of guy is not just good at fighting, he is actually one of the very best there is? How? He has defeated the likes of Chet Congo, Brandon Schaub, Matt Mitrione, Stefan Struve, and legends like Krokop and Minotauro Nogueira. And he didn't just beat these guys, he finished them. Every single one of them. His knockout power is legendary, and it doesn't matter who you are. If you get hit by this guy, you're going out. And it's not just his power. His conditioning is actually pretty good, and he's a phenomenal grappler, which makes the fact that he looks the way he looks absolutely mind-boggling. Do not be fooled. The overweight guy is an athletic, powerful, talented, and dangerous fighter, and you do not want to take him for granted. Oh look, another one that looks like he belongs in a room surrounded by computers. Joe Lozon. This one just doesn't make any sense to me. I went to school with guys that look like that, and the only thing I remember about them is that they were really good at math. Calculus to be exact, and they wanted to be the next Bill Gates, inventing the next big thing when it comes to computers. And the interesting thing though is that Joe Lozon probably would have been well on his way to becoming the next big thing in computer programming, because the guy is actually pretty smart. He graduated with a bachelor's degree in computer science and actually worked as a network administrator for a while before abandoning ship, left all that behind, and instead decided to get punched in the face for a living. And considering how many times this guy has been punched in the face and busted up, I'd say he's not just good at getting punched in the face, he might actually enjoy it. Okay, so you thought Joe Lozon looks like he shouldn't be fighting, right? Well, how about a guy that looks like he hasn't even hit puberty yet? Michael McDonald, the 24-year-old mixed martial artist that looks like he just turned 16. Absolutely nothing about the way this guy looks would make you think he could hurt a fly, let alone step into a cage and fight other human beings. Men, to be exact. But I guess I really shouldn't be surprised, because not only is Michael McDonald a fighter, he started training kickboxing at age 10. He started training mixed martial arts at age 14, and get this, he had his first professional fight in 2007 at age 16. 16 years old, people. That's how young this guy was when he first stepped into the cage. And from that time till now, he is known as one of the most powerful punchers in the bantamweight division. The fact that he can generate so much power and transfer that power from his 5'8" scrawny looking body through his fists into his opponent's head and shut their lights completely off, leaving them on the floor looking lifeless, that shit is impressive. Alright, with this one, do you guys remember the game we played earlier called Petrified, where I asked you to close your eyes and imagine something extremely terrifying and see if you could get petrified? Well, it's time for that game again, and this time I want you to close your eyes and just listen to my voice. Imagine for a second you went to the mall with your girlfriend or your mother, and as you guys were walking around window shopping, trying to see if there's something you might like, all of a sudden a man runs towards your girlfriend or mother and grabs their purse or handbag, and as you're about to react, he turns around and says to you, "If you come after me, I'll fuck you up." And you look at him and he's 5'3" and weighs 125 pounds. Tell me, how scared would you be? Are you petrified? Or do you feel like just laughing your ass off right now? Well, I'm sure that's exactly how a lot of people feel when they see Demetrius Johnson and they hear that he's a dominant fighter, right? I mean, how is it that a guy who's barely tall enough to get on some rides at Disney is good enough at fighting to be called a dominant fighter? And not just that, he is considered by many to be one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Well, you'd think that until you see what this guy has accomplished. He won the flyweight belt in 2012, and since then, he has defended that belt 5 times, twice by submission and once by brutal knockout. So, if you think this guy cannot whoop your ass because he is small, think again, because if there is anything that has been proven repeatedly, it's that when it comes to fighting, size really doesn't matter. Alright, so things are getting very interesting. Number 3 on my list is Ronda Rousey. And forget about everything she has done and how dominant she has been. Just imagine for a second that you saw a woman that looks like her walking down the road or at the mall or whatever. Would you think for a second that she could grab you, lift you up into the air, slam you into the ground and rip your arms out of your shoulder and beat you with it? Would you think that was possible? I mean, Ronda Rousey is definitely not the softest or most feminine looking woman out there, but the fact remains that she's a woman who can beat the crap out of other women, and she can most likely beat the crap out of a few men out there regardless of size. Out of all 10 wins, she won 8 of them by armbar. She's the only women's bantamweight champion the UFC has ever had, and she has defended that belt 5 times. And the last time she defended that belt, the fight lasted a whopping 16 seconds. I didn't even have the time to blink and the fight was over. That's how dominant Ronda Rousey is. And that's after a very successful career in judo. So when you look at Ronda Rousey and you think, she's a woman and she's small, I can take her. Yeah, you probably could. Then again, you could also lose an arm. Is that really a chance you would like to take? In number 2, we got another woman. A much more soft looking, beautiful and feminine one. But do not be fooled. This woman right here is tough as nails. With a 16-5 record, Miesha Cupcake Tate has demonstrated some incredible heart in some of her fights, especially the fights where she got her arms broken by Ronda Rousey because she refused to tap, and the fight where she almost got her skull caved in by Kat Zingano and she still wanted to keep fighting. Sometimes I ask myself, why bother? You are beautiful enough to make a career in modeling if you wanted to, so why step in a cage and get your face busted up? Then again, that's why she's the fighter and I'm not. Okay, she wants to test herself against the very best and she's willing to put her face on the line. She is one of the most beautiful women in MMA and she has the skills to not only defend herself, but the skills to make a living beating up other people. What a combination. So here we are, number 1, and the number 1 fighter you would never, ever, ever guess was a fighter is...
I'm Paige Van Zandt and I'm 16 years old.
What? Are you kidding me? How? What does your father have to say about that?
I'm extremely proud of Paige.
Well, okay then. I guess that solves it then. She's making daddy proud and that's all that matters. End of story. But with that said though, Paige Van Zandt is number 1 on my list because when you look at this girl, you just can't help but wonder why? Why MMA? She is hands down the cutest and most drop-dead gorgeous and beautiful woman in MMA right now, and that includes ring girls. There's not even a close second in my opinion. And that's why it boggles the mind that instead of becoming a model, which could have been an extremely viable option, she decides to rather step into the cage and get punched in the face. Now, we don't know what her full potential is because we haven't really seen much of her in the octagon, but the fact is that the girl can fight. And if her last fight, which she finished by TKO, is an indication of her skill level, then it's pretty safe to say that the sky is not the limit for this beauty, it's the starting point. And the fact that she is stunning is definitely going to help her when it comes to being likable by fans. She is definitely one to watch out for, and with that, Paige Van Zandt is officially the number 1 active UFC fighter that you wouldn't think could fight. Impressive. Thank you for watching, guys. If you enjoyed that video and would like to see more, then leave a like and subscribe, and also follow me on Twitch TV and Twitter. Links will be in the description below. Also, don't forget to check out these videos if you missed them. Be safe, guys.